You were telling me, Dick, that you haven't left Callan since you came back from Germany around 1975, 76.
75. I never left Callan. I went on the wedding and to be bury my brother died in England, that's all.
Yeah. And otherwise, having travelled the world, you've stayed put now in Callan.
I did, but I'd love to go back again around the world, like.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back to France and Belgium and Holland and all these places eventually. If I could, like. I would like to go across.
Dick, just tell me what it was like for you the day before D-Day. What happened?
Well, D-Day was actually supposed to be on the 5th of June. And because of the weather, especially the weather, the plans were all put back to 24 hours. And at this time we were in France now, to be on the 3rd, the night of the 3rd of June, we were dropped. And we become part of the 5th, 6th Parachute Brigade. And also in that same group was coming in the 6th Airborne Division, which consisted at that time of friends of mine, was the Hstorical, the Post Battalion, the Hstorical. When we dropped in the thing, our job was to join the resistance. There was arms, a large amount of arms dropped as well for them, and ammunition. So when we come, then we can join up with the resistance. We were picked up by groups of resistance. We had with us the Royal Air Force radio operator. She was a French, working with the WAF that time, and she was operating with us. She was our radio contact. So when we joined up with the resistance, our job was, we were not allowed to take prisoners. Our job was to destroy bridges, lock the Panzer divisions from coming up. That's the 7th Panzer Division, near Reims at the time. Well, we were to block all them, coming up, all the things, low bridges, just railway lines and different things to destroy them. To hold them up, actually, it was.
Right.
And give the airborne and the parachutes a chance to come in.
So you had full knowledge of what was going to happen on D-Day?
We knew what was going to happen. We were told, it came over the radio, we told us that because of, the weather, that, the parking was stopped. So in other words, they weren't going to land.
Right. So, yeah.
For another 24 hours to be given.
So in you went, how many of you parachuted in?
Well, there was 6 altogether with us. There were 2 engineers, 2 officers that were engineers. And there was the officer, the WAF we called her, she was the radio operator. That's what they're talking about women's equal rights today. They deserved everything they get, because they should be on the same pay and everything else, everybody.
Yeah.
But they turned around, she was with us all the time.
And what kind of age was she?
Oh, she was only about 20, the same age as what I was, I say.
And she parachuted in with the rest of you?
She parachuted in the same way with the radio and everything else, for all the kit. And they were all trained to survive, to live. We had very little rations and stuff, because we had to live off the land. We had to live off of whatever the French would give us.
So you were dropped right behind enemy lines?
Behind enemy lines at that time. In the night time, the bombers were over and they're bombing the whole place, so it was all a confusion. And we just sneaked in that time. Well, there's other people dropped in, Americans dropped in, some Rangers and everything else on the opposite side.
Right.
And then you had more units of SAS was dropped in with the special units as well, in that area as well. But they're all operating in small groups of men.
So you had to live off the land, live on your wits behind enemy lines?
Yes. Well, you had so much rations for the last year for 72 hours. We had a box of chocolate, they call it, and you get a little square box, like a square. There's about 12 squares on the box in the chocolate, and one of them would you for 24 hours. So it was very, it was nice when you got it. But when you had food, you could eat. We trained to eat everything. We were trained to eat worms, grass,
rats and
leaves.
cats.
We lived on those in other continents when I was on. I lived on that kind of thing.
Anything you could find at all?
No, anything. I lived on myself. I lived to survive myself. I was a survivor. That's what it was.
That's why you're here today, to some extent.
Here today, yeah.
Dick, when you said that your brief was not to take any prisoners, that's a kind of a chilling thing. That meant that if you came up against anybody, you killed them, basically, was it?
If the man surrendered, you had to shoot him. And what happened was we had the groups, the officer we had with us, the Major DeVere White. We used to call him Major Severe White. He was a Canadian, actually, and he was in charge of our group.
He was DeVere White, and you called him Severe White.
Because he was severe. He'd shoot you in a minute. And the idea was you couldn't take prisoners because you couldn't carry people with you. But ours was movement all the time.
You had a serious mission on hand.
Sprinkling around the place. You had to be fit.
How did you feel about that, or did you allow yourself to feel anything about that?
I had to accept it because I was trained to do it. Well, if you look at the army training at that time, battle inoculation, you were allowed to lose 25 men out of a company of men going in, and that was just 25% gone. Didn't worry about it. Even in training, even today, they do it. But you have to accept these things. You're trained to do it. And you turn around and you have to accept. We ended up in this point now it was. We ended up in the farmyard. We went into one of the places we were in by the French resistance.
This was on the 4th of June, was it, you landed?
That's on the 3rd and 4th in the thing. But they said that we ended up in this farmyard. We ended up with a German officer, or a Luftwaffe was shot down. He was shot down on the battle over the Channel. No, the bombers was in the bombing and all. And this chap was shot down. He was a German officer. And we ended up with him as a prisoner. The Via White attitude would be, we can't keep him. That was the law. Our instruction was to shoot him. And he spoke perfect English. He was actually educated in Oxford, in England. And he told his story thing and all. And he gave him his word of honour. He said he wouldn't think. So we've taken a chance. And we said, what do you think? So we had a meeting about it. We discussed it.
What did he give you his word of honour that he would?
His word of honour, he would never try to escape, and he wouldn't give any information away for us, on us. But we were taking a chance because the VFI could get a court martial for not shooting him.
So you had life and death.
So we ended up, we had to make a decision. The VFI he was him. And we stood between him and the VFI just to save a lot of arguments over it. But they were very strict on what they do. The orders were given, you do it. You get soft hatchet, it could cost you all your own lives.
Yeah.
But we hung on to him. And I used to tell us stories about the air forces, And he said if we were in this sitting, we were having, old potatoes. In the French in the cellar, they have old potatoes, and we were roasting these potatoes over little tammy cookers, And he said, he told us a story about the Americans and the British and the Germans, And he said when the American Air Force, when the British Air Force come, he said Germans duck, He said when the German Luftwaffe come, he said British duck. The Americans come, he said everybody duck. So he had a slap at it. So the VFI didn't like that because if you look at North America, he was a
Canadian.
Well, he's Canadian, more French than thing.
So do you remember the name of this German officer?
No, I
never.
I knew him was Schultz.
Schultz.
A flight lieutenant he was.
But
he was a fighter pilot.
You allowed him to live?
He was there. Well, I can come on to that, you see. Afterwards, when when the D-Day came in, right, into that area, we were making our way back towards Caen. We were destroying everything between where we were and down to Caen. So the Germans were looking for us this time. They were out. They were everywhere. They were swarming around. A lot of lads were captured and shot. The orders was from Hitler that any special forces would be caught and shot. There was no trial. They would get no trial. So the idea was you wouldn't surrender. I wouldn't have surrendered anyway. If they captured me, I wouldn't give up to them. So the point was that when we got down near Caen, the first people I run into was the first battalion, the Royal Ulster Rifles, a bloke called Sergeant McGoldrick. And he said, he asked me what I was doing in France. I said, I was on holidays in France. And he said, on holidays? He said, over here? He said, holidays? I said, yeah.
In the middle of the war, yeah.
In the middle of the war. But I made a rifle. No, he was joking. He knew, because McGoldrick met me, I met the same man 6 weeks before that with the 6th Airborne Division training in England. And some was taken out of this group. He specialised taking out what to do these jobs. And he was laughing at us, McGoldrick.
On your holidays
I was on my holidays in France. But the 6th Airborne Division, the Ulster Rifles at that time had taken, the 1st Battalion had taken Caen. They took Caen itself. And eventually out of that came that Montgomery ordered them to withdraw from Caen later on to bring the Panzer Division, the SS Panzer Divisions onto his front. He wanted to destroy their armour before the thing happened. After that, you see, they built up for weeks and weeks after that to the Palace Gap came into it. They surrounded the cut the Germans off from getting out of France. It worked an awful lot of it, but places it failed, you see. So then about 15 days after D-Day, I think it was, the 15th Scottish Assault Division came in. And we were told to order to report to the 15th Scottish Division. And I was one of the few. I went to the 6th Battalion, the King's Own Scottish Borders then, for the advance all the way up into Belgium. There was no respite. You couldn't say you could go back to England and rest or something.
You were just reassigned again.
Reassigned again till I went through Best in Belgium and all the way up to Belgium then.
And how did you get your orders?
We got our orders from the radio operator, see.
Yeah.
But our orders come when they were trained up at Ulster Rifles, they told us, although we were Irish, and my old battalion was the Northern Ireland battalion. But previously this, I could have been to the Ulster Rifles, but some went Ulster Rifles, some went to King's Own Scottish Borders.
Were all of your group, did they all go through safe?
No, Wilkinson was killed at a place in Blerick near Benlow. It's like, you know, like between both sides of this city and the north. On one side was Benlow and this side was Blerick. And he was killed. He was at a carrier, flamethrower carrier, standing there reading a comic, Captain Marvel. We used to carry comics during the war.
Yeah.
You know, we used to carry these comics to keep us things, just read at the time. And he was killed at Blerick. That's why I gave my medal to his mother afterwards, because we were very close. He was landed with me for D-Day.
You were given 2 medals. You were awarded 2 medals.
I was given 1 medal of that in the war. That war, I had my campaign medals. I have still got them. I was given the DCM, and the DCM I handed over. I went to see his mother after the war. When I come back to England, it was 1945. This is the man who was
killed, and he was an Englishman, was he, Dick?
He was an Englishman from Lancashire, Wilkinson. He was a bugler with me in a band boy. We were band boys together, and we were very close.
And you gave your medal to his mother?
His mother, because I thought he deserved the medal more than I did.
She must have been delighted with that.
Yeah, but she said she'd keep it for the rest of her life. But if anything happened to her family and even died, the medal would just come back to my family eventually. If I wanted, and I said I didn't want it. I wanted them to keep in the family.
All right, now I know you joined as a band boy at 14 years of age from Callan. Dick, will you stay with us? We're just going to take a commercial break and then we'll come back to that. 62777 is our number. And I'm talking to Dick Kelly, a veteran of the Normandy invasion and the Second World War indeed. And he's from Callan, and like others before him and after him, he went off to join the British Army. Back, it's just 12 minutes to 1. I'm joined in studio by Dick Kelly, a veteran of the Normandy invasion, landed in France behind enemy lines a day before D-Day. Dick, like many people, you joined the army very young, 14 years of age. It seems extraordinary now that a young lad could go off. Where did you go at 14 years?
I went over to Liverpool first. I joined the army in Liverpool, Scotland Road in Liverpool.
And did lots of people do that from Callan in those days?
I don't know. A lot of lads did leave Callan that day. A lot of lads, the Welshes, Jimmy Welsh's relation, their brother. Yeah. And you had the Bergens. Yeah. You had Jimmy Connors, Paddy Connors up in Green Street. He was sunk during the war too. And the Courageous, he was sunk with the torpedoes, no?
Is that right? Why did you all go? Why did you go?
Well, I left because we had 10 in the family. And that time we used to live with my mother to try and keep it all. So my father was a soldier. My grandfather was soldiers. And all the history they tell you about travelling around the world, I wanted to see the world as well. So I went off anyway. My brother at that time, he was in the Irish Guard, a band boy. So I went off to join the...
And what was it like? I mean, 14 is very young. Was it very tough, Dick?
It was. Well, at that time I had to go to school. I had to do band, teach music for the band, for the thing. I was on a drum actually, a bugler and a drummer, and I had a bassoon to do, but I didn't like the bassoon, so I stayed with the drum and the bugle.
And did you know any music?
I knew nothing when I went away from here at all. No. They teach you when you go to the army. You had to go to school anyway in the morning and in the afternoon. But then when you come 17 and a half, you become a man. Yeah. And you can throw that to one side and, right.
And how soon, Dick, were you involved in, say, your first violent conflict?
Well,
and what did you feel about it?
The first time when I went to New Delhi. Well, we were in India, the battalion at that time.
And how old were you then?
Well, I was trying to think now, 1938, which you were 16 years of age.
16, you were in India?
Yeah, and I was a bugler. I was in New Delhi in India, in Red Fort in Delhi. And they had tunnels down there, the dungeons, they call them. And I used to go down there because there's a guard down there, and I used to bring down things people. Just being a young lad, a boy, they give me a bit of scope to go down and visit all the lads down the guards, down the tunnels and the cells and see what it's like. And I went down there one day and the lad spoke to me. He was behind the bars in real pure English accent. And, an Indian he was, which I realised when he called me over to me, he asked me how old I was, and I told him, and he asked me where I came from. I told him I come from Kilkenny and Callan in Ireland, Republic of Ireland. That time it was known as the era. And he says, you're very young for the army. And I said, I'm a bugler thing and all. I said, I haven't got any weapons at that time. So he told me then his name was Gandhi, and Gina and Gandhi was in the prison down below at that time. And I felt sorry for him. He was very an non-violent man.
And that was Gandhi?
That was Gandhi.
And you met him down
at
in the
that time on the cells, down below in the tunnels. It used to happen down there. They were a terrible place down there. But that's where they put the prisoners. The police used to bring them in and keep them down there. And they used to have a military guard with the police. Because they never wanted to have any abuse done on Gandhi or Gina or any of them people. So they kept him down there. And
you met Gandhi when you were 16
when I was 16
years
of age. So it was very, it's a great experience you went to that way there. But
you felt sorry for him?
I did, yeah. And then later on in years, he to be killed by some of his own. He was a non-violent man.
And did you see awful things done in India by both sides, Dick?
No, not to the... They never bothered us, in a way. They used to lie down in the middle of the road, and then they'd pick him up off. You might get the police every thing, that dragging them off the street and beating them with big sticks and stuff like that there. But there was none, on the side of the Gandhi's crowd, there was no violence. They never touched... You could walk out the street any time in India, you wouldn't be touched.
That's right.
Until they divided it. Until they partitioned India, it became India and Pakistan, then there was murder.
I'm completely taken aback. Isn't that extraordinary? 16 years of age and you met Gandhi down there.
Yeah, but I was in this place, in India, that time. Well, I eventually went back to India in 1947 for the handover in India, you see.
So you saw it the way through?
Through then afterwards, yeah.
Dick, we have a neighbour of yours, I hope, on the line. Hello to you, Jimmy Welsh.
Hello, Susan.
And how are you?
Very well, thanks. And yourself?
Grand. Dick, have you, Jimmy, have your radio there on by any chance?
No, I haven't. Sure.
You haven't. That's okay, so we don't get an echo. Jimmy, your brother was one of those that went off to join the British Army.
First, I would like to say, before I go, that is I'm delighted to listen to Dick because Dick Kelly is a soldier, a professional soldier, and a gentleman. And any Callaman is proud to know Dick Kelly. He's one gentleman.
He's a bit of a legend in Callan.
I tell you, you could keep Dick there for a week on the radio and everyone would enjoy it because anything Dick Kelly is telling you is truth. Dick Kelly went through more action, I think, than any 10 men. He's brilliant. He should write a book. He should get some author to do a book because he went through, so he had some life. A great man. And as I said, the people of Callan are proud of Dick Kelly. Yes, I had a brother that was in Armagh and he'd done the jump on D-Day. And he was a member of that 1935 great minor hurling team. He played centre back against Tipperary in the All-Ireland, along with men like Jack Mulcahy, Jimmy Langton, Paddy Grace, Terry Leahy, Shawnee O'Brien, Todd Tain, all them greats that went on it. Bobby Hinks, they all went on to win Senior All-Irelands 4 years afterwards with Kilkenny. But he joined the British Army, no work in Ireland, had to go away. As Dick said, there were 9 of us in it. Someone had to keep the place supported, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was wounded at Armagh. But some time after that, he rejoined his unit and they were sent to Italy. And he had the misfortune of stopping one in Italy. He was killed in Italy. And he was 27.
Very sad for the family.
Like, at that time, 45, Kilkenny played Tipperary in the Senior All-Ireland, and all his buddies of the minor team of 10 years previous was playing in that All-Ireland, you know. And he was lying out in Italy in a grave. For I don't know, was it for a good reason or no? I suppose it was. When you look today at some of the things these men died for, you'd say, what did they die for?
Yeah. Well, let me put that to Dick. I mean, was it worth those young men dying? Was it worth all the bloodshed?
If we hadn't have fought, like I worked it out. They said I think they said that there was 100,000 Irishmen fought in the last war.
Yeah, and still we only called it the emergency, Dick.
Yeah, but I mean, I reckon out there's 500,000. They forgot about the people already in the army. Time. But we fought the war. If England had lost that war, if England had made an agreement with Germany, even, and said, made a peace with Germany, Germany they took Ireland, and Hitler had in his plan to execute every male in Ireland, because they always said that the Germans will tell you, no matter what they'll always tell you they never trust. The Irish will always fight. They'll never give you an inch. And they've been things, so they get rid of that.
Right, never mind the kind of society we would have had.
Yeah.
Anyway, how about that, Jimmy?
Yeah, well, when you look at the good people, then you know why they died. You know, there are an awful lot of good people in the world.
Yeah.
See, but Dick is right about that. I worked for 3 years in London, and I worked with a lot of ex-soldiers from the Second World War. And that was Hitler's. After the Jews come the Gypsies to be exterminated, and the Catholics after that. According to the English soldiers, that was in Hitler's plans, Yeah. So maybe they did die for something good.
All right, well, Jimmy, thank you very much for joining us.
And again, I must congratulate you on having on Dick, because Dick is somebody.
Well, thank you to Sean Byrne, actually, who organised this. Jimmy, thank you very much.
Another great Callaman.
Another great Callaman. Okay. Thank you very much, Jimmy.
Back because he's very interesting.
We will, because we're running out of time rapidly. Thank you very much. That's Jimmy Welsh there joining us. Can I ask you a final question, Dick? Are the Irish men and women that fought and died, a lot of people would see it as against fascism, against a world order that was just so completely unacceptable. Are they forgotten in Ireland? Are we too busy being...
They have forgotten them in Ireland, but I'd say that... You see, according to the people in Ireland, they didn't fight for Ireland. But people didn't realise that time there, if you come back to 1940, that England was on its own. They were fighting Italy and everybody was against them. And it was them who were standing between democracy and fascism and Nazism and all this dictatorship. And still not, some of the Irish, you go back to the blue shirts, they went to Spain and fought for fascism. So you have two different things.
Right, and others on the other side then as well.
Yeah.
Would you do it all again, Dick?
I would, yeah.
You'd live it all?
I'd love to be there now. In the army now, I'd love it. Yeah.
Would you?
Oh yeah, I love travelling.
And it took you away from home a lot, of course.
It did, yeah, and it took me away from my family, but I accepted it. I didn't mind. I was a soldier first, and didn't mind.
All right, Dick. Alice Lennon from Callan has called to say it's lovely to hear, Dick. We're all proud of you in Callan, is the message.
Thanks.
Dick Kelly, thank you very much indeed for coming and joining us. The time wasn't half long enough.
Well, plenty of time.
But we'll have you back again, and we hope you'll join us again here on Radio Kilkenny. And thank you very much indeed for coming in. That's Dick Kelly joining us for far too short a time from Callan. He was there the day before D-Day, and of course it was our little Kilkenny reminiscence on this celebration.
A few more from Kilkenny, the Kellys, Art 4, Art 8 and 84.
Right.
They were in other little skirmishes later on. The loads of lads was in there.
All right. Well, we'll remember them all today, Dick.
I remember them all. Thanks, Sue.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, it's coming up to news time at 1 o'clock. I'll be back with you lots more, a bit more Euro campaign trailing after the news at 1:30, and news from the Archaeological Society and lots more. But now it's almost 1 o'clock.